Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. Machiavelli understood that beneath the surface of every human interaction lies a battlefield of hidden levers. You walk into a meeting, speak your idea, and it vanishes into silence. Later, someone repeats it and suddenly nods. That sting of invisibility is not random. It is the result of unseen triggers you failed to command. Authority is never gifted. It is seized by those who know which strings to pull and which signals to silence. Think of a room as a war chamber. Every glance, every pause, every tone is a soldier on the field. When you sit unaware, your soldiers scatter and the enemy advances. But when you anchor your presence, you deploy them like disciplined infantry. The cost of blindness is submission. The reward of clarity is command. People do not consciously choose whom they yield to. They respond to authority cues the way armies respond to banners in battle, instinctively, without hesitation. The true enemy is not other people. It is your blindness to the forces that sway them. You are not at war with colleagues, friends, or strangers. You are at war with your own ignorance. Authority slips through the fingers of those who confuse noise for power. You may talk the most, explain the hardest, or try to persuade logically, yet still be dismissed. Meanwhile, another man sits in silence, steady as stone, and the room bends toward him. That is not luck. That is mastery of triggers. History is full of rulers who embodied this. Cesare Borgia, ruthless yet calculating, once used silence and carefully timed violence to project inevitability. He didn't need constant displays of force. His stillness carried weight because people sensed that behind it stood the will to act decisively. In that space between action and restraint, he pulled the hidden levers that made entire regions submit without constant rebellion. His authority lived not in his words, but in the signals people absorbed from his presence. Translate this to your own life. The family dinner table, the workplace, or even an online debate becomes a siege. Your authority is tested not in dramatic speeches, but in subtle cues. Do you slouch or sit upright? Do you rush to fill silence or let it sharpen the edge of your presence? Each choice is a sword drawn or a shield dropped. You either set the tone or you live under one set by others. From this moment forward, do not confuse authority with volume. Authority is precision. It is stillness as weapon, clarity as banner, and discipline as fortress. Master the triggers, or they will master you. Be the invisible hand on the sword. Your mind is your throne. If you cannot sit upon it with command, no one else will bow to you. Authority does not begin with the words you say or the gestures you display. It begins with the unseen edicts you issue to yourself, the inner decrees that either tighten your army into formation or scatter them in panic. To rule outwardly, you must first establish dominion inwardly. Self-regulation is the first royal decree. Imagine yourself as a king at court. Every thought, impulse, and reaction that rises is like a noble or soldier demanding attention. Some are loyal, others reckless, and some are traitors in disguise. If you allow them to speak and act without order, chaos spreads and the kingdom becomes weak. When you discipline your own mind, controlling impulses, issuing commands with clarity, you project that order onto others without even speaking. People sense the solidity of a mind that governs itself, just as they sense the cracks in one that falters. Emotional discipline is the second pillar of this throne. Outbursts, flinches, or uncontrolled irritation reveal weakness, the way cracks reveal a crumbling fortress wall. Machiavelli observed that rulers who could not master fear or anger quickly lost the respect of their subjects. In your own life, when you allow emotions to dictate your presence, you signal instability. Subordinates, peers, or rivals unconsciously rebel against it. Authority rests on the perception of stability, and nothing corrodes stability faster than ungoverned emotion. To command others, command your face, your tone, and your silence. Even in moments of conflict, your calm should carry the weight of inevitability. Consider a disagreement. A colleague dismisses your point too quickly. The untrained mind reacts with heat, raised voice, defensive tone, restless gestures. The trained mind holds, you breathe, keep your posture steady, and respond with controlled precision. I hear your view. Let me show you why mine holds weight. No spike, no collapse, only calm force. In that moment, your discipline installs authority. People follow the one who remains the center when tension rises. History offers a clear lesson. Roman generals were known to rehearse battles mentally before a single sword was drawn. By mastering the battle in their minds, they projected confidence to the troops. Soldiers obeyed not only the orders, but the aura of men who appeared unshaken. The principle is the same in any arena today. Mental rehearsal, emotional regulation, and calm presence turn your thoughts into a disciplined army ready to march. Your throne is not built on chance. It is built on rituals of self-command. Govern your impulses, hold your emotions, rehearse your challenges, rule your inner kingdom so that when you step into the outer world, your authority is already decided. The one who rules within is never conquered without. Every day begins as a battlefield. The moment you wake, you either seize command or surrender ground. The first hour is not casual time. It is a preemptive strike. Rituals performed in silence and precision create an aura of inevitability. The general who organizes troops at dawn controls the campaign. Likewise, the man who controls his morning dictates how others experience him for the rest of the day. Small acts rising at a set hour, preparing your body, setting priorities, are signals. They declare to themselves and to the world order has already been established. Authority is strongest when it is consistent. Morning rituals become banners raised above your army. They are not about elaborate routines, but about consistency that cannot be shaken. When you carry yourself with order, others sense that order long before you speak. Posture, attire, and eye contact are not trivial details. They are standards, like flags planted on the battlefield. Weak, casual slouch, hurried dress, wandering gaze. Strong, upright stance, deliberate presentation, steady eyes. People unconsciously rally to the one whose standards are visible. They yield to a presence that feels anchored, not scattered. Look at how leaders in business and politics often operate. Many CEOs keep consistent morning patterns, not because they are obsessed with ritual, but because it communicates reliability. When employees see a leader arrive prepared, composed, and consistent, trust grows. Reliability becomes authority. This is not about perfection, it is about being seen as the one who is already in command when others are still assembling themselves. Even in times of pressure, that steadiness becomes a trigger that draws loyalty. Consider a micro-conflict. You walk into a meeting, and a peer questions your readiness with a sharp remark. If your posture is tight, your tone rushed, and your eyes dart, the remark lands as a strike. If instead you sit calmly, hands still, and answer with measured confidence, the dynamic shifts. The disagreement becomes proof of your composure. Others watch not the words exchanged, but the way you carried the moment. Authority is earned by steady signals when tension tests you. Command your mornings with the same precision a general commands troops. Do not drift. Do not rush. Do not appear scattered. rise, prepare, and project inevitability. Let your posture, attire, and gaze be banners that others rally toward without thought. Every morning is the first skirmish of the day. Win it, and the field is already yours. He who owns the dawn owns the day. Silence is not absence. It is a weapon as sharp as any blade, a trigger that unsettles and compels others to move on your terms. In the wild, predators pause before striking. That pause freezes prey, locking them in uncertainty. The stillness is not weakness. It is tension wound tight, a declaration that the next move belongs to the one who waits. Authority in human affairs works the same way. When you resist the urge to fill space with words, you shift the burden to others. They scramble to resolve the tension you created, often surrendering control in the process. In negotiations, silence is a dominance cue. Imagine a boardroom. One side makes a proposal. The other side remains silent, eyes steady, body unmoving. Seconds pass, and the weight grows unbearable. The first side speaks again, softening the offer, making concessions that were never requested. The silent party has already won more without uttering a word than many achieve through arguments. This is the leverage of stillness. The one who talks the least often controls the frame, because silence magnifies presence and forces the other to reveal weakness. History reinforces this truth. Machiavelli noted that rulers who said less, yet implied more, projected greater authority. Words once spoken can be measured, challenged, and dissected. Silence cannot. It leaves others guessing, and in guessing, they reveal themselves. To say little but mean much is the essence of strategic power. Those who always explain, always justify, or always respond are like kings who leave their throne to argue in the courtyard. Authority decays when you appear too eager to prove. Authority solidifies when you hold your place and let silence speak for you. Consider a simple disagreement. A colleague dismisses your idea quickly. The untrained response is to argue louder, pile words, and demand recognition. The trained response is to pause. You let silence hang, your expression steady. Then you answer with measured calm. I understand your view. Here is why this direction holds weight. The silence before your words amplifies them. The room notes your composure, and the colleague feels the imbalance. You did not fight for control. You absorbed it through restraint. Use silence deliberately. Do not confuse it with passivity. Weak, nervous quiet that signals uncertainty. Strong, intentional stillness that projects control. Your goal is not to manipulate, but to embody presence. Each pause is a reminder that you are not rushed, not rattled, and not begging for space. Others will yield to that certainty because people crave stability in the face of tension. Stillness is not emptiness. It is stored energy, a coiled force that dictates rhythm. When you master silence, you master the battlefield of perception. Speak less. Hold longer. Let others break themselves against the wall of your composure. Your silence is your sword. Authority decays when signals conflict. A leader who sends mixed cues is like a king who issues contradictory decrees. The court splinters, the army hesitates, and rebellion brews. Power thrives on clarity. It collapses under inconsistency. Every word, gesture, and decision you make either strengthens your throne or invites challenge. To hold authority, you must conduct a ruthless elimination of weak signals, the small cracks that undermine perception long before collapse is visible. The first step is a strategic purge. Look at your speech. Cluttered sentences, nervous qualifiers, or constant apologies act as rebels within your kingdom. They may seem minor, but each one whispers doubt into the minds of those listening. Weak. I think maybe we could try this. Strong. Here is the direction we will take. The difference is not arrogance, it is clarity. Likewise, inconsistent actions create confusion. If you demand punctuality yet arrive late, if you preach discipline yet act scattered, your banner falls from the mast. Authority rests not only in words, but in the alignment of your entire presence. The second trigger is certainty. People follow what feels inevitable. Ambiguity is an invitation to test boundaries, while clarity ends debate before it begins. When you speak with precision, when your body language matches your words, when your decisions remain consistent, others stop questioning whether to follow. They assume alignment is the natural course. This is not about crushing dissent, but about preventing unnecessary friction. Authority is magnetic when it radiates certainty. Without it, every choice becomes a negotiation, and power erodes. History offers examples that prove the point. Caesar Borgia, often cited by Machiavelli, understood the value of eliminating mixed signals. He used one emblem, one message, and one posture of inevitability. The people under his rule did not wonder where he stood. They knew modern branding echoes the same principle. The strongest brands communicate through one symbol, one voice, and zero hesitation. That unity is what creates recognition and trust. Authority works the same way. When your message is scattered, people look elsewhere. When it is sharp and consistent, they rally to it. Consider a moment of disagreement. You announce a direction, and someone interrupts with an alternative. The untrained response is to backtrack, soften, and add caveats. The trained response is to listen calmly, nod once, and reaffirm, "I understand your view." Here is why this path remains the right course. No anger, no retreat. Your certainty eliminates doubt, and the group senses it. You did not silence the other voice through volume, but through alignment of presence, clarity, and conviction. Purge weak signals wherever they hide. Refine your speech until every word carries weight. Align your actions until they reinforce your message. Maintain one banner so that others know exactly what they follow. Authority belongs to the one who removes hesitation from their image and replaces it with steady direction. Clarity is the crown of command. Every throne requires a mask. Authority is not just what you are inside, it is what others see and feel when they encounter you. The mask of command is not deception but strategy. It is the deliberate shaping of your presence so that people unconsciously yield. Behind it lies your true self, the throne room where doubts, thoughts, and calculations live. But in the courtyard where the crowd gathers, you must wear the mask that signals command. Separating the throne room from the courtyard is the first discipline. Inside, you may wrestle with uncertainty, fatigue, or hesitation. That is human. Yet when you step out, you project a steady front. Soldiers obey not because their commander never feels fear, but because he never shows it in the ranks. Leaders collapse when they confuse the private self with the public role. To hold authority, decide what part of you belongs inside and what must always remain masked. This is not dishonesty, it is protection. It preserves both your power and your dignity. The mask must blend reliability with a touch of mystery. Too predictable, and you are taken for granted. Too obscure, and you are dismissed as unreliable. Authority is strongest when people know they can trust your consistency, yet cannot fully read your next move. It is the balance between the visible banner and the hidden strategy. In practice, this means showing up prepared, steady, and disciplined, while occasionally withholding information or delaying a reaction. The small pause, The subtle silence, the controlled unpredictability, they all keep people attentive, respectful, and slightly cautious. That cautious respect is one of the strongest triggers of submission. Machiavelli understood this balance. In his writings, he emphasized the importance of appearing virtuous even when strategy required otherwise. To seem generous, merciful, or fair was often more important than actually being so in every circumstance. People follow appearances, and appearances can be managed. A ruler who fails to shape perception invites instability. A ruler who crafts the mask with care turns perception into armor. The mask is not about living a lie, but about controlling the lens through which others see your authority. Imagine a meeting where your idea is questioned with open skepticism. The weak response is to reveal agitation, rushing to justify or defend. The strong response is to maintain the mask. You listen calmly, nod once, and respond with steady composure. Your point is noted. Here is why this approach holds. The difference is not in the words, but in the projection. You did not let the inner throne room leak into the courtyard. The mask preserved authority, and the group aligned behind it. Language reveals the same principle. Weak, I'm not sure, but maybe this could work. Strong, here is the direction I believe will work. The second form does not reveal every uncertainty, it projects clarity. The mask is in the choice of words, the tone and the discipline to reveal less while commanding more. Do not fear the mask. Respect it as part of your arsenal. Without it, you stand exposed, your private doubts open to public challenge. With it, you carry an image that stabilizes others, draws them into alignment, and protects your authority from erosion. Build it deliberately, maintain it consistently, and never confuse the mask with the self it protects. Your mask is your fortress. Your greatest rival is not out there. It is inside your own head. Authority is destroyed more often by self-sabotage than by external enemies. The cracks that undo leaders are not always coups or rebellions, but subtle habits that betray weakness. If you want people to submit to your authority, you must act as your own assassin. Kill the behaviors that leak power before they expose you. The first step is identifying the traitor thought. Doubt, over-explaining, or compulsive apologies are spies operating inside your fortress. They slip out through your words and gestures, signaling uncertainty before you even realize it. Weak, I'm sorry, I just think maybe this could work. Strong, here is the course we will take. One projects hesitation, the other projects clarity. Every time you over-explain, you hand away authority. Every time you rush to apologize for existing, you tell the world your command is negotiable. The inner assassin must root out these spies and silence them. The second step is punitive self-correction. When you catch yourself slipping, rambling, fidgeting, apologizing without cause, correct immediately. Authority grows when others see you enforce discipline on yourself. A general who punishes small infractions in the ranks signals to the army that standards are non-negotiable. The same is true internally. Correct yourself in real time. Stop mid-sentence if needed. Reframe and continue with strength. That instant correction builds unconscious respect in others because it demonstrates that you do not tolerate rebellion, even from within. You enforce the same order on yourself that you demand from the world. Think of your mind as a kingdom with secret police. Their task is not cruelty, but vigilance. They watch for spies, habits, tones, and patterns that compromise authority. When found, they strike without hesitation. If you fail to establish this inner system, those spies eventually signal weakness to everyone around you. Authority is eroded not with one great betrayal, but with 1,000 tiny leaks. Imagine a disagreement in a group setting. Someone cuts you off and questions your judgment. The untrained response is to rush, to defend with too many words, to spill nervous explanations. The trained response is different. You pause, correct your tone, and respond with measured certainty. I understand your point. Here is why this direction stands. That adjustment is the inner assassin at work. It eliminates the weakness before it spreads. The group sees composure, not insecurity. The rival sees a wall, not a crack. Do not mistake this process for harshness toward yourself. It is respect. Respect for your role, your presence, and your responsibility. When you assassinate self-sabotage, you protect the throne of your mind. Authority does not require perfection, but it requires discipline. Discipline to remove weak signals before they cost you loyalty. Discipline to enforce your own standards in every word and gesture. Discipline to act as both ruler and enforcer inside your own kingdom. The one who cannot govern himself cannot command others. Eliminate doubt when it spills out of your mouth. Kill over-explanation before it drains your authority. Strike down apology loops that beg for validation. Act as the secret police within your own mind. Your authority depends on it. Rule the inner kingdom with iron discipline. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Authority is not a gift granted by admiration. It is a fortress maintained through careful calibration of respect and consequence. Picture your influence as a battlefield. Every interaction is a maneuver, every word a volley, and your presence the banner others measure their allegiance against. Those who follow you must sense both the safety of reward and the reality of boundaries. When either is absent, your dominion weakens, your control becomes a fragile facade. Reward is the quiet forge of loyalty. Small, consistent gestures, acknowledgements of effort, visible appreciation, measured recognition, act like chains that wrap subtly around allegiance. They do not bribe. They reinforce that alignment with your vision brings value. A soldier who receives clear acknowledgement for his skill fights with more precision. A colleague whose insight is respected contributes without hesitation. Authority is reinforced when followers can trace a direct path between compliance and positive outcome. Yet, these incentives must be deliberate, proportional, and consistent. Overindulgence erodes respect. Scarcity builds attention, but risks resentment. The leader who understands this balance wields influence without resorting to coercion. Each reward becomes a stone in the foundation of loyalty, durable because it is earned, not demanded. Fear, when applied with precision, delineates boundaries and communicates standards. Calibrated consequences are not cruelty. They are the natural enforcement of rules that safeguard the integrity of your domain. A warning left unheeded must be followed by action, otherwise the entire structure of authority crumbles. Consider a disagreement during a team meeting. Someone challenges your decision aggressively. Weak leadership might respond defensively, undermining its own standing. Strong leadership pauses, measures the breach, and responds with measured firmness. Your point is noted, but we will proceed according to plan. The calm, unshaken tone signals that boundaries exist and are non-negotiable. This is not domination. It is clear, predictable governance that earns respect. Without this tension, loyalty becomes superficial and easily swayed. Machiavelli emphasizes the duality of affection and fear. Real authority thrives in the overlap, not the extremes. A leader who is loved but never respected risks betrayal, while one who is feared without warmth risks isolation and rebellion. Strategic leverage arises when both levers, reward and consequence, are employed in harmony. Loyalty becomes automatic because it is intertwined with personal benefit, and respect becomes unavoidable because missteps are visible and meaningful. The predator does not strike without reason, it moves with anticipation and restraint. The chess master does not threaten every piece. Only those whose movement endangers the end game. Your followers, like both pieces and prey, respond predictably to signals that are consistent, ethical, and calibrated. Command your influence by embedding ritual and consistency. Recognize efforts immediately, acknowledge achievements publicly, and enforce rules privately but visibly. Maintain composure when challenged, applying measured correction rather than impulsive retaliation. Allow your presence to be a compass. Reward aligns with vision, consequences align with boundaries, and both signal that your authority is not a whim, but a structured, ethical force. In every exchange, whether minor or consequential, enact this dual leverage with deliberate care. Rule with the balance of the wolf and the throne. Authority is the ability to see the battlefield before it forms, to anticipate shifts in power before they arrive. Think of influence as a chessboard stretched across every interaction, every decision, every relationship you hold. Every piece moves, not randomly but according to potential threats and opportunity. Mastery comes when you understand the patterns beneath the surface, the subtle rhythms of behavior, the recurring choices, the predictable reactions. When you can perceive 2 steps ahead, you appear prophetic. People defer not to brute force alone, but to the one who seems to navigate chaos as though it were scripted. Pattern recognition is the currency of predictive authority. This begins with observation. Scan your environment like a general studying enemy formations. Every conversation, every gesture, every decision offers a clue. Leaders who grasp the emerging pattern can preempt conflict, guide outcomes, and position themselves where advantage is guaranteed. In practical terms, this means noticing trends in behavior early, a colleague consistently seeking approval, a team member hesitant to act, a partner's repeated concessions under pressure. Recognize the moves before they are made, and you dictate the tempo. Your choices then feel inevitable to others, not forced. They submit willingly because your foresight removes uncertainty, and humans crave certainty more than novelty when stakes are high. The trigger of predictive authority is subtle but powerful. People respond to the impression that you always know. This is not about psychic insight, but disciplined anticipation. Anticipate questions before they arise. Provide solutions before a problem fully manifests. Align responses with recurring patterns in human behavior. When others perceive that your decisions are preordained or that you have foreseen their concerns, their trust deepens. Their compliance is voluntary. Your influence is amplified. Weak leadership reacts to events. Strong leadership orchestrates them. Your authority expands when you present decisions as both timely and inevitable, a force flowing from perception and preparation rather than coercion. Consider historical precedent. During Cold War brinkmanship, leaders operated in a psychological chess game of deterrence. Every move was calibrated, signaling intent while masking vulnerabilities. Each leader anticipated the reaction of the other, balancing provocation and restraint. Those who successfully projected foresight avoided direct confrontation and maintained leverage. Translate this to modern life. Strategic foresight in negotiations, social dynamics, or project management works similarly. Recognize sequences, anticipate objections, and position yourself to act decisively. Your foresight becomes a silent form of control, compelling respect without aggression. Execute this approach with tactical discipline. Map potential responses before initiating action. Adjust language and tone to reinforce perception. Weak, I think this might work. Strong, this will happen as planned. Present choices clearly. Anticipate resistance calmly, and redirect when necessary. If disagreement arises, do not flinch. A micro example: during a planning session, a colleague contests your proposal. Pause, acknowledge the point, then guide the discussion with a calm, confident statement of the inevitable next steps. The room follows, not because of intimidation, but because your foresight makes the outcome appear logical and unavoidable. Each calculated step increases the perception of authority. Predictive authority thrives on repetition and consistency. Reinforce patterns through repeated, measured actions that align with anticipated behaviors. Train yourself to perceive the flow of interactions like moves on a chessboard. Each participant is a piece whose behavior can be anticipated. Each decision a lever for influence. Your presence becomes a stabilizing force. Your judgment carries weight because it consistently aligns with reality. Through disciplined pattern recognition, your foresight is undeniable. Your decisions gain the inevitability of strategy, and your influence becomes self-reinforcing. Command the board before the game begins. Presence is the silent armor that surrounds you, felt before words are spoken and decisions made. Imagine yourself as a fortress on a battlefield, walls unyielding, gates closed, yet the posture and stance of the watchtower communicate power without motion. Consistency becomes your signal. Humans instinctively trust what feels inevitable. Each repetition of discipline, each controlled gesture, each calibrated breath reinforces the sense that you are unwavering. People do not submit to force alone. They submit to certainty, to the impression that your command is not contingent, but inherent. The iron will is cultivated, not inherited, and its triggers are subtle yet omnipresent. Your body is the first instrument of authority. Breath anchors your presence, deep, measured, deliberate. It signals calm confidence, regulating tension and projecting control. Stand with intention, shoulders squared, weight balanced, feet planted. Every micro-adjustment communicates readiness and resilience. Gaze functions as your silent emissary. Hold it steady, but not rigid. Scan with awareness, not suspicion. These bodily anchors operate invisibly, yet their effect is profound. Modern examples abound. Special forces train relentlessly to project command presence under stress, relying on posture, breathing, and eye contact to influence outcomes without raising a voice. They demonstrate that presence can be cultivated systematically, daily, and ethically. Consistency compounds impact. When your actions, gestures, and reactions align over time, people internalize your reliability. Weak, unpredictable, and reactive. Strong, deliberate, and inevitable. Every day you reinforce this pattern, shaping perception through repetition. If disagreement arises, approach it as a general directing troops under fire. Pause, assess, and respond with calm authority, guiding the outcome without coercion. In a meeting, for example, a colleague challenges your timeline. You acknowledge their input, maintain composure, and restate the strategy with unshakable confidence. The group follows not out of fear, but because your presence signals mastery and inevitability. Each small encounter strengthens the invisible field surrounding you. Anchor your will with ritual. Morning posture drills, controlled breathing cycles, and focused gaze exercises are not performative. They are tactical conditioning. Like a knight sharpening armor before battle, you prepare the vessel of your authority. Presence is not the absence of weakness, it is the disciplined projection of readiness. Your field becomes a stabilizing force in dynamic environments, drawing trust and cooperation organically. Observe, adjust, repeat. The body becomes a conduit for influence, The mind a strategist's war room. The perception of consistency, a quiet but formidable lever of authority. These daily rituals train others to follow without coercion, creating a natural hierarchy rooted in respect and calm command. Stand immovable, radiate certainty. True authority is not loud. It is measured, deliberate, and occasionally absent. Picture yourself as a monarch atop a fortress, visible yet untouchable, your presence felt more in absence than in immediate access. Scarcity sharpens desire, and distance amplifies respect. When you withhold yourself strategically, people invest attention, admiration, and effort into what cannot be easily attained. Authority anchored in inaccessibility is a psychological lever, subtle but overwhelmingly effective. In many cases, individuals and groups subconsciously equate scarcity with value, and what is consistently out of reach becomes elevated in perception, commanding reverence without a single demand. Strategic distance operates on layers. Begin by setting boundaries that define where and when you are approachable. Your calendar, availability, and energy become tactical instruments, not obstacles. Each deliberate pause, each delayed response, communicates that your time is finite and therefore precious. This does not mean arrogance, it means measured control over engagement. Like a chess grandmaster, withholding certain moves, you calibrate interactions so that when you appear, your influence strikes with disproportionate impact. The mind prioritizes what is rare, and by controlling access, you amplify both credibility and psychological weight. The trigger of reverence emerges naturally from this pattern. Humans elevate what they cannot grasp easily. Monarchs have historically used rituals of the audience to reinforce hierarchy, positioning themselves as arbiters of attention and influence. Courtiers waited for hours, sometimes days, for brief moments in the sovereign's presence, leaving a lingering impression of power magnified through scarcity. The lesson is transferable. Controlled inaccessibility signals importance. Weak, always available, diluted authority. Strong, selectively present, commanding attention. Every calculated absence strengthens perception, making your presence a pivot point around which others orient behavior and expectations. Calmly managing interaction dynamics reinforces inaccessibility without alienation. Suppose a peer presses for immediate input on a complex decision. Pause, acknowledge their urgency, and provide a measured response that signals consideration without overexposure. By maintaining composure, you assert that your focus is on priorities, not impulse, and that your time cannot be commandeered casually. This micromanagement of access conditions others to respect your boundaries while fostering voluntary alignment with your agenda. The psychological effect is compounded over repeated interactions, gradually rendering your presence indispensable yet untouchable. Commit to rituals that reinforce untouchability. Use scheduled availability, clear boundaries, and controlled visibility as tactical exercises, much like generals reviewing battlefield positions. Each strategic absence is a rehearsal of authority, shaping the environment before action occurs. Over time, your reputation becomes a self-reinforcing field. People adjust behavior, expectations, and effort around your projected inaccessibility. True power resides not in immediate reach, but in the gravitational pull of a presence that cannot be possessed casually, a presence that inspires respect by design. Stand apart, command silently, and let scarcity do the work your voice cannot. Appear, impact, withdraw. Authority is not granted, it is earned in silence, in discipline, and in the relentless orchestration of self-command. Imagine yourself as a general surveying a battlefield at dawn, the fog lifting to reveal both allies and adversaries. Each move you make is precise, measured, and inevitable. Your morning rituals are not routines. They are the sharpening of your mental blades, the conditioning of reflexes that turn hesitation into decisive action. Consistency becomes your first trigger. When people recognize that your standards never waver, your influence becomes automatic. They anticipate your moves before you act, respecting the rhythm of your disciplined presence. Stand tall, breathe deliberately, and let the certainty of your posture communicate a promise of power, a quiet inevitability that draws attention and obedience alike. The chessboard of social influence unfolds in layers. Each encounter is a calculated engagement, every word a piece advanced with foresight. Your gaze anchors conversations. It is a silent blade that slices uncertainty, signaling that your attention is deliberate and scarce. Strategic distance operates here as well. By regulating access, you magnify your perceived value. Like monarchs of old, who received supplicants in ceremonious intervals, your inaccessibility elevates your authority. Weak, rushing to respond, dissolving mystique, strong, measured presence, cultivating reverence. Let scarcity shape perception, allowing your interactions to resonate far beyond their temporal span. Authority thrives, not in accessibility, but in the gravitational pull of a persona meticulously sculpted. The predator metaphor sharpens further. Observation and patience amplify dominance. Intense exchanges remain the calm apex predator. Assess, respond minimally, and let others reveal intentions before committing. Suppose a colleague challenges your strategic insight. Do not defend aggressively. Pause, acknowledge their point, and offer a succinct, composed rebuttal that reframes the discussion in terms of clarity, not confrontation. This micro-example of controlled response reinforces your psychological seal, an aura where manipulation and doubt bounce off, leaving your domain untouched. The mind of the observer notes not only outcomes, but the seamless command over tension and presence. Your calm decisiveness becomes contagious, magnetizing respect without coercion. Each trigger converges in ritualized discipline. Morning preparation, measured exposure, controlled speech, and deliberate silence combine to form a lattice of authority. These are not abstract exercises, they are daily warfare rehearsals. The silent blade of consistency, the chess moves of calculated engagement, the apex predator's observation, the throne-like inaccessibility, all align. Step into this structure intentionally, and your presence radiates without effort, commanding without overt demand. Authority becomes magnetized, not imposed. Others orient themselves around your standards, adjusting their behavior in anticipation of your deliberate movements. The psychological fortress erected through this convergence is resilient. Manipulation falters, doubt diminishes, and your mental domain remains impervious. Internalize the ultimate reframe. Power is not coercion, but alignment. Discipline projects influence. Consistency shapes expectation. Scarcity elevates respect. Calm mastery deflects challenge. This synthesis produces the invisible emperor within a figure who navigates social landscapes with the assurance of a seasoned commander, the foresight of a chess grandmaster, and the poise of a predator at the apex. Each day of deliberate practice reinforces this architecture, embedding authority into posture, gaze, voice, and decision-making. People follow because they recognize command, not because they are forced to. Your final form emerges from meticulous self-governance, an unshakable presence radiating from a fortress of strategic rituals and psychological precision. Command silently, conquer effortlessly. Authority is forged in ritual, tested in discipline, and proven in deliberate action. Visualize yourself as a general standing atop your fortress at dawn, surveying the terrain of influence. Every trigger you have cultivated now converges into a singular form of presence. The morning discipline you adopt sharpens your reflexes, aligns your mind, and signals to observers that your time and energy are not easily taken. The silence drill reinforces control over your own narrative, teaching others that access to your attention is a privilege, not a given. The mask of command practice projects unwavering confidence, a subtle force that bends perception without coercion. Each action is a calculated strike on the battlefield of social dynamics, and consistency transforms these behaviors into invisible yet undeniable authority. Recall the 10 hidden triggers that have shaped your strategy. Strategic timing, deliberate scarcity, confident posture, controlled speech, selective engagement, authoritative tone, presence management, ritualized behavior, calm decisiveness, and measured intensity. Each trigger functions like a chess piece, moving with foresight across the board of interactions. Weak, reacting impulsively and diluting impact. Strong, execute each trigger deliberately, reinforcing the architecture of your influence. Let these principles guide every encounter, transforming ordinary moments into demonstrations of sovereign self-command. Presence is not loud, it is magnetic, drawing attention through restraint and precision rather than force. Immediate action demands commitment. Select one ritual, morning discipline, silence drill, or mask of command practice, and integrate it within the next 24 hours. Perform it as though every observer can sense the subtle shift in your authority, whether they witness it or not. The ritual is both test and declaration. You are willing to invest in your own power, to control what is within your grasp, and to remain untouchable by manipulation. In moments of challenge, maintain composure. If a peer questions your methods, respond with measured clarity, reframing the discussion around the discipline of results rather than emotion. This micro-example demonstrates that authority is reinforced through calm mastery, not confrontation. March forward as if leaving the gates of your fortress. Visualize the banner of authority high, your domain untouchable to rumor, doubt, and trivial influence. Let each interaction be guided by the lattice of triggers you have internalized, moving with calculated momentum. Authority is magnetic when it is grounded in ethics, clarity, and deliberate practice. Your presence, cultivated through repeated ritual and mindful engagement, creates an invisible gravitational pull that organizes the environment around your standards. Others adapt instinctively because they recognize competence and consistency. This is the culmination of disciplined self-command, the final form where influence is natural, effortless, and ethically grounded. Embody the principle fully. Act with intent, preserve scarcity, and let your rituals define the rhythm of your authority. Each step, each pause, each measured word communicates power more effectively than overt force ever could. Through these practices, you become both observer and orchestrator, capable of navigating social landscapes with precision, resilience, and ethical influence. Your sovereignty is not assumed, it is demonstrated continuously, silently, and without apology. Stand, move, and speak as the master of your narrative, aware of manipulation, yet untouched by it. Walk into the world as the architect of your own authority. Command yourself, command the world.